So I believe we should start with the sponsor of ours, right? So a mutual friend of ours, Sigal, made this podcast happen.
Yeah,
So
he made
this
it
guy
happen.
is an executive producer of documentaries such as Sean White's documentary,
right.
or the one that is called Expedition Back to the Future.
Yeah.
These documentaries have amazing ratings on IMDb. So
He's all about the credit. He wanted credit for this, right? For putting us together.
yes,
in the same
he
room.
said 4 credits,
Yes, this
4
is the-
mentions.
this is the first
one. Okay, I got you.
We have 3 more to go.
Yes. So Mr. Tom Cruise is considered one of the greatest actors of all time, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
He's got 4 Academy Award nominations. He's got 3 Golden Globes, I want to say.
That's right.
And
Top
he-
grossing, best looking, best hygiene, you know. He does his own stunts.
Yes. Yeah. At 60 years old. And my guest
Dude.
today is Evan. Evan Ferrante, right?
Who's Evan?
Ah, that's the third guy behind the camera.
The third guy, the guy behind the guy.
Yes. Tell me your story. How
I hear,
did you get
I hear,
here?
I hear Evan's pretty talented too.
Yeah, he is.
How did he get here? Well, I mean, look. First of all, see this coat I'm wearing? I don't need any more. You know why? Because I'm cloaked in failure. So I'm going to take it off, okay? I had 2 slices of bad pizza in the morning and grew a conscience. Just help me, help you, help me, help you, Apollo, help me, help you. And here we go. So the glasses are coming off, the wig's coming off. And here you have Evan Ferrante.
Yes.
Nice Jewish boy from New York.
Yes.
And I'm turning 45 next week, or 2 weeks, grappling with that,
You look much younger.
Oh, that's good.
I want to say 30 to 37.
It's a skincare routine, I just try to follow in the footsteps of Mr. Cruz and his regiment.
Vitamin D, right?
Yeah.
Vitamin C, all that stuff.
I'm slowly coming out of character, so my voice and my, inflections are coming back to Evan, which is a little more neurotic, a little more angsty, less sure of himself.
So you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, I'm a New
your dad
Yorker.
is an Italian and your mom is a Russian Jew.
You did your research, yeah?
Yes.
That's right.
Do you speak Russian?
No.
Why not? Does your mom speak Russian?
That's the thing. No.
No.
If my mom spoke Russian, if my dad spoke Italian, then I would have been brought up with some multilingual, capabilities.
So
But
they are the first generation immigrants to the US?
They're not.
The second-
They're
second or
second
third?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty far removed from my original, homes.
Yeah,
I've never visited. I've never been outside of. I've never been to Italy. Never been to Russia.
Really?
No.
So Italy is amazing. The food
I've
part?
heard. I know. Don't get me excited. I haven't eaten lunch yet, and I'm just.
You gotta visit Italy.
Yeah, no. I hear.
Just because you
I hear
can
great
you can
things.
enter every cafe, restaurant, you can order just a sandwich. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
10 out of 10, yeah.
10 out of 10. Apparently, they opened up in a place that's known to be the best sandwich in Italy here in LA. Did you hear
really?
about that?
No.
Yeah, it's like it's the same spot. They just open it here, and I think it's doing very well. I imagine it would be. Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna go well because the problem with American food is, well, I'm from Europe.
Different.
I can tell you,
Yeah.
You've got a big problem with food because the same ingredients they just don't taste well. Like tomatoes, they're like more artificial.
Yeah, everything is artificial.
The problem is the distance. For example, the distance in Italy between the farmers and the table that this food is served is like, I want to say 70 kilometers. It's like 50
Yeah.
miles. In the U.S., it's hundreds of miles. So
I mean, I'm a bit spoiled. I shop at farmers markets in Erewhon.
oh yeah, that's
But now
that's good.
I'm reining it in because times are a little tough. It's a little slower in the economy. I'm not getting as many bookings.
Yeah.
So I'm eating more baked beans and ramen, but not the expensive ramen that they have, like the cheap ramen that we used to eat in college.
$1.
Yeah.
I got you.
I mean, it hasn't gotten that bad, but it's I'm
Yes,
definitely having to
yes.
watch my spending and not be as loose as I was.
Evan, tell me your story. How did you end up impersonating Tom Cruise and being the biggest and the greatest impersonator of this actor?
Let me just first say that there was a time, there was about a decade or so where I was impersonating Cruise, where I was really the only one doing what I do and doing it at that level and getting booked for, animation, doing voiceovers, or doing live events, doing meet and greets and photo ops or performances on stage for corporate America. That's kind of my bread and butter, where Fortune 500 companies would hire me to travel around the country at wherever their home base is and do hype up their sales force, their sales crowd, and rally them, if they need some morale boosting. And I'd be on the stage with the CEO, CTO, COO, the executive team, and do some, fist pumping and couch jumping and high fives, and then a spirited kind of, Tony Robbins-esque performance. But also I get booked, as parody, sketch comedy, doing, TV, film commercials. But there was a period though where I had no competition at all, and now in the past.
When was
5
that? Like
years,
a decade ago?
I would say up until about 3 or 4 years ago. Right before COVID, I was like the only guy. And then COVID came around, and there's a guy now in San Diego who I befriended, but I wasn't always I didn't always consider him a friend. I'll tell you that in a little bit. But he's now like the lookalike younger version of me that is a better natural lookalike, even though he still wears glasses, because I wear glasses too. But he does, his home base is in San Diego, and that's where a lot of the bookings are, especially on the Midway, the ship, for Top Gun Maverick. And he blew up on TikTok. And I had a decent following on TikTok, but he went a little further, and the world at large really cares more about lookalikes than they do about talent and impersonations. And there's a discrepancy between the two.
You mean lookalike, just straight?
So someone who just appears and looks like them, like that's like cosplay. Like someone who goes to Comic-Con, dresses up as the character. You might have some of the mannerisms and maybe a little bit of the voice, but you really are just a lookalike for photos. And I get booked for that, but that's really that's a very small part of what I do. I'm more of the performance crews, so I get hired still to this day. I don't really face much competition in that regard as the guy who looks but also acts like him and performs like him at a higher level. I'm actually recognized as his professional voice match in Hollywood. So, the studios and agencies know of me and bring me in to replicate his voice. Yeah. So
you call yourself still an impersonator, right?
I'm more of an impersonator, but I like to call myself an impressionist these days, because the word impersonator can get people in trouble, especially on social media.
Why?
With the algorithms but because they consider you, they associate impersonator with imposter. And I'm not an imposter. I'm not trying to say I'm Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I'm literally just doing an SNL Mad TV sketch of Cruise, a parody. And I'm covered under parody laws. That's why I can't really get sued. I've never been sued. And I don't do anything to disparage or slander Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Everything is in good fun, and it's all an homage to his work. I playfully poke at him from time to time, of course, but that's just natural. Like that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to focus on things like the fact that he is a bit of an egomaniac, or he thinks he knows everything about everything, and the person sitting across from him knows less than him in most cases. So I play on that. And that's based on the Matt Lauer interview, and when he was talking about psychology. The first thing about psychology, I studied it. Just that level of ego is in my work. As a impressionist, and then also his manic behavior, going from just laughter to serious, almost like a child would. That's a big part of my work.
But that's what you consider a good actor. When you can switch emotions just like that.
For sure.
Just like Leo does.
But it's a bit comical with Cruise. He's very charismatic. So you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's a testament to his success, his ability to switch gears like that and do it so efficiently and also entertaining. It's such an entertaining quality.
But the second biggest thing I want to say to Tom Cruise is the problem with Tom, if you want to say so, is Scientology. That's kind of the only question is like, why is he there? Is he still there? Is he still a Scientologist?
Right. Look, it's not. They say it's not good optics. It doesn't look very good. But I don't really like to talk about people's belief systems too much. But of course, that's not helping him. And I think there was a time when his sister was his publicist. I think that's changed years ago, where she was like, "Look, Tom, just be yourself. Everyone wants to know the real you." That was a mistake.
Yes,
that was a mistake because look, there's a lot of actors who are incredibly entertaining or brilliant on screen or on stage, but once you get to know them, you might not like them very much or might think they're despicable human beings.
You had any experience?
No, I'm just saying from just experience knowing other actors. I don't need to bash anyone, but there's many actors out there who don't have great reputations, and yet they're admired for their work. I think the Scientology thing, especially after Going Clear and the other, exposés and just people doing a little bit of digging and research to learn that it's, there's human rights violations going on. It's not good on a PR level for them to embrace that publicly as much as they once did. But it's again their own belief systems, and it's hard to argue one is better than the other. Because then you get into the whole department of this person knows more than this person, or their belief system is better than this belief system. It's like a superiority complex. So I don't. My philosophy is, and maybe I'm just going off the rails here, but is more of I don't know, and that's my I stick to that. I'm not 100% certain of anything, so I do have different beliefs, of course, but I'm not certain of anything, and that's kind of where I.
So your dad is an Italian Catholic, your mom is Jewish,
yes,
so you got to be religious, right?
No, that's another thing. I'm not religious at all. Yeah, I didn't get bar mitzvahed. My mom is Jewish, though, so I am Jewish, but I never, I went to 1,000 bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs because everyone in my school was Jewish, but my partner, who's not Jewish, just got converted. She wanted to just convert. So she's now Jewish, and we're kind of maybe raising our son with the Jewish faith, but not really, focused on it. But we're open to it, and we have a lot of Jewish friends. We go to Shabbat and have dinners ourselves and host them, and we do seders here and there, and we're involved in the community, but we're not like.
So no work on Sundays. Saturdays.
Saturdays. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. And Friday. Well, we try to stick to I think it's a nice tradition to kind of get together with friends and break bread and eat and drink and not have technology, and just I think that's good for anybody. But I'm not religious now.
Tell me your story. How did you end up?
Right. So I was just prefacing it all by saying I'm not, because you told me that I'm the best and the greatest and this and that. And yes, in some ways, I think I do what I do better than anyone that's out there right now. Although Ben Stiller years ago did a fantastic impression of Cruise, a very heightened version, much like I do, eccentric. For the MTV Movie Awards, and it was a hilarious parody.
Come on, this guy is an actor, professional actor.
Yes,
he's brilliant.
But he really nailed kind of what I was doing it, by the way, for 2 years prior to that coming out, but I hadn't fully committed to doing this as a profession at the time. But when Ben Stiller did that video, it kind of made me it solidified and crystallized my path, because I realized. Not only was it hilarious, but I was onto something. I was doing this already, and I was really capturing much of the choices that Ben Stiller made. I had the same idea to focus on the old school risky business kind of Top Gun, Days of Thunder nostalgia Tom Cruise, the cocktail Tom Cruise, and hone in on that. And so that really inspired me, because he did such a fabulous job, that I continued on that path. And that's what I believe got me to the point I am today. So it started off back in college as just a goof, just a way to pick up girls. I was 17 or 18 at the time. My friend Alex Merkin, who's a director in Hollywood now, he does a Jean-Claude Van Damme impression, not professionally, just again for laughs. And we tag team. We came up with a routine together, like a Abbott and Costello routine. And I learned some lines from Jerry Maguire and some other movies, Risky Business, I guess I did. Sometimes you just got to say, what the fuck, make your move. he had some very funny lines from some of Jean-Claude Van Damme's movies, and it's an odd pairing, like odd couple pairing, but we knocked on dorm rooms and introduced ourselves and just broke the ice that way and had a fun little banter back and forth for like a minute or two, and sometimes the doors opened and come on in, let's have a drink or have some fun, and nice to meet you, right? And sometimes the door slammed in our face.
That was late 90s, right?
This is 1997, and
Jerry Maguire
just came out.
The money.
Exactly. So it started off just to meet people. I won't say it was just to pick up girls, but
But why Tom? Why not Travolta?
So because my friend Alex and a couple other people pointed it out that
There's no way you look like Tom. There's no way.
No, I don't look like him really. You can see me right now. Like I'm not a look-alike, but I have his mannerisms, I have his voice, and that was
You got his body type.
I've got his body type. I'm short stature, of course. I had his energy even more so back then when I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. That's when I started. And so he just, told me, let's do this, and maybe I was drunk at the time or high, I don't know, but I said yes, and it became a thing that we did like regularly, and the word got around because it was a unique thing that I did. And for some reason, my Tom Cruise was more effective than his Jean-Claude Van Damme, although people appreciated him as well, but they wanted more of me. And I think Alex pushed me, like at parties. I was at a frat party or whatever, and he would say, you got to hear my friend, throw on some shades, throw on some glasses, and it'll all come together magically. And I just did fun stuff. And this is way before Oprah couch jumping. This is way before Matt Lauer. This is just like, classic Tom Cruise. And some people, I remember doing Magnolia came out shortly after, and I think I did a few lines from that, which I did, you really got to know your audience. And I did it to like a bunch of young kids, and it didn't work.
They missed it, yeah.
And they missed it completely. It fell flat. So, but mostly I would stick to like the classics, right?
What's the first thing that you bought? The wig, the
shades? So I just had glasses back then, and I used
the Ray-Bans,
and I had better hair. Okay, I had actually a fuller head of hair, right?
Once I used to have a better hair.
Yeah. So I didn't, I had more Mission Impossible 2 long hair back then. Believe it or not, I had like a mane, and it worked. And then remember the smile's a big part of it, the laugh, and the voice.
Yeah.
And just mastering that, really getting that. And again, just doing it for fun. Like I wasn't really thinking about improving it to the point of perfection. I just, people loved it. And I was always asked to do it. And sometimes I was in the mood, sometimes I wasn't. You asked me before I got here, are you kind of tired of this? I mean, look, I've been doing this a long time, over 2 decades. And yes, it is exhausting to turn it on and off. But if I have a little coffee before, if I have a little Red Bull or whatever, or some drink like that, I just snap into character and I'm in it. So I have to be in the right mindset and have the right energy. But anyway, a couple years later, YouTube came around. It was the beginning of YouTube. Mm-hmm. You've heard of it. But it was before Google, before AdSense, before viral was a word, literally before I started hearing viral. I did a video right in the beginning because my girlfriend at the time suggested just throw it up there. I didn't even have glasses on, no wig and glasses.
Wow.
And it was just my acting. And that video, which I'll share with you later, went, viral at the time with no pushes by anybody, no ad spending of any kind.
It's still on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It has like 150,000 or something, but with no help at all.
That's a lot.
And it got around. It got around enough to the point where people in my sphere and beyond my sphere started noticing. And I was still living in New York at the time, in Queens, and I was a production assistant. I was really scrambling for money. And not to digress, but because you asked about when I picked up the wig, that got me a job, which was not a paying job, but it was more of just a fun thing I did with some really creative people. A series that I did called Tom Cruise is a Cock Block. And you know what a cock block is, right?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, it's a very funny expression, but it refers to someone who, let's say you're single, right? And it's the opposite of a wingman. So I go out to a bar with you, and you're flirting with a girl, and you're making good strides with her, and she likes you a lot.
You're a spoiler.
I go in, I get in there, get in between you guys. I woo her with my charisma, and I go home with her. That's a cock block, okay?
That's called motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a derogatory term. Anyway, the subject of the series is that what if Tom Cruise was at your party and he was cock blocking your girl, and he won't leave your party? What do you do? That's like a scenario. And it's a very funny sketch. We put it on Funny or Die because Funny or Die just launched as well. Mm-hmm. And we were like first out of the gate, a few months into Funny or Die, posted this video. It did 400,000 views. And that video, which was directed by Richie Keene, who's like a big Hollywood director now. I mean, semi-big, but does a lot of TV and film, and he works a lot. He directed it, and I worked with my friend Ross Kahn, who I went to high school with, who's an actor in Hollywood and producer. And it did so well that it just got spread around all the agencies. All the Hollywood agencies started to know about me. I got on their radar. So that video, still no wig, I had my long hair, got us a sequel, Tom Cruise's A Cock Block Part 2, and then we did a third one. But the second one, they purchased a wig for me, which I have here, the same wig I've had for 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. And I need to get a new wig. It's like, it's a good wig for old school Tom Cruise, but I need to get an updated wig, but it's not cheap at all. It's like a couple $1,000s, and I just haven't found the right wig maker or stylist yet, and I just need to save money.
More like a Top Gun Maverick?
More just like, because I can't get a wig for every occasion, but I need something more modern, more like, back and not the bangs, not like, because it works, like it's part of my brand, and people know me as this, like my brand is called Not Tom Cruise, and I have this look, this whole brand image, but I do need an update. Anyway, I want to say that just back to me being in the in dire straits, because this is a really inspiring story. And it's funny how it all happened. I owe so much to Tom Cruise whether you believe in a higher power or not, like he's like kind of my higher power in some ways, because whenever I've had ups and downs, right, and really tough times, he's always somehow indirectly affected my life in a positive way. And I mean that by just work coming in out of nowhere, from left field, from, out of the clouds, out of the blue. And one of those gigs was pre-Facebook. This is MySpace era, okay? Mm-hmm. I was in pretty bad credit card debt, like $14,000, $15,000 back in my early 20s.
That's not bad.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when you don't have a way out, when you don't have income coming in, really. So you just continue to accumulate, and there's no end in sight. There's good debt and bad debt, I understand. If you had income and you have a disciplinary approach to paying it off, but I had none of that. Okay, I was just in a really bad place, and I was living in Queens, had a girlfriend. Everything was just very, very challenging to be in a relationship, and I had a lot of self-loathing, self-doubt. I was production assistant at the time, but going from one really low-paying gig to another, and there would sometimes be a month without a job, and then the cruise thing, I would have occasional gigs. This is after that viral success I had, so I had like a few gigs here and there that would bring in some money, but nothing to really call it an income, right? And I was constantly getting pressure from my parents to do something legitimate, and that didn't stop for like another 15 years. Yeah, no, none of it helped. Okay, so it was all a lot of weight, a lot of heaviness, right? And all of a sudden I get a message on MySpace, which I rarely used, and it was from this Australian magazine called Pacific Mags, and they had a OK kind of magazine. It's called OK, but OK in America, but their version is called Famous Mag. I never heard of these things, but I looked them up, and it seemed legitimate, like this is a real brand. But again, they could have just been making this up, so it could have been like a Nigerian email scam, of the time, because those were going around a lot back then. So I didn't know what was real, but they were interested in me pitching them and potentially doing directing, writing, and acting in a series of commercials for them, using my Tom Cruise persona. Right?
You can do that.
Yeah, I mean they did it. We did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's parody laws. I wasn't really selling anything per se, but I guess, that is a question. Sometimes, quick digression, but sometimes, very few times in my life has this happened where lawyers from a brand nix the job because they're worried about litigious backlash if I'm selling something. So even if it's parody, like sketch comedy parody, but when it's connected to a product or a service that I'm selling or a brand, some people get the jitters. Some lawyers get the jitters, and then the brands say we can't do this, right?
Okay, but how can you do an ad without selling?
Exactly.
Not direct
Some
selling,
some people don't care, and there's never been any backlash or lawsuits ever. But some companies, like I recently almost worked with. It's not a big deal if I say it. Cheech and Chong. I was going to work with their brand called Cruise Chews. It's a marijuana
It's all over
supplement.
the Twitter, man.
Yeah, I know. I see it everywhere. It's crazy. So they were going to do a campaign with me, and I was going to work with Cheech and Chong, and I was really excited to do it. They had a very funny idea, and the lawyers at the last minute said no because they were worried about the connection. Even though I'm an impressionist, I'm not Tom Cruise. I'm clearly,
But because of a product.
but because it's associated with me acting like Cruise, even though I'm not Tom Cruise, it's still an issue. Anyway, back then they didn't care for this job. Okay, they just did it. We did it. We were pioneers and renegades, and they didn't care. And I got together with my brother, and I realized this could be my way out of credit card debt and onto a better life. So I really got to take this seriously. My brother's a writer, and I got together with him at a bar. I just remember this all very, very viscerally, and sketched out like 10 ideas to pitch to them. That was the first stage. One of the ideas, which was I think the most boring idea, like not the most exciting one, they ended up loving. And that's the one we did, which was a day in the life of Cruise. So it was split up into 3 parts. It was Tom Cruise getting coffee in the morning at a coffee shop, and funny things happen, right? Like hijinks. And then Tom Cruise in the afternoon buying some salmon for dinner at a fish store. And then third one was Tom Cruise on the red carpet with Katie Holmes, who's significantly taller than him, and just doing some, paparazzi stuff. And it was good, but it was like the least interesting one of all the ideas. It was the most risk-averse idea. So they ended up greenlighting it and then asking me for a budget. And long story short, they agreed on my budget, which was about $65,000 back then, and $45,000 was going to me because I'm the writer, director, actor, producer.
Just like Tom is.
Yeah.
Except he's not a director.
Right. So I did pocket a lot of it, but I still paid my crew. I had $20,000 left over to pay for the editor, to pay for the 2 days of shooting with a professional crew. And they were paid well. Everyone was paid well. I was paid really well. And up until the shoot date, I never did an international wire transfer in my life. And it's for anyone who's ever done it or not done it, that it always takes longer than you think it does. And I didn't know these people. I didn't really trust them. Okay, so at that time there weren't FaceTime calls.
Yeah.
So I never saw these people. I was just communicating through MySpace, and then we did some phone calls. But there was no WhatsApp back then. It was always like very challenging to talk to them, and I just had to trust them, giving them my personal information and So I ended up getting some really good crew members to do the shoot, and good crew members like union crew, who just did a non-union shoot, but they still want to get paid on the day. And the day came around to pay them, and the wire had not come through yet, even though it was supposed to come in 2 days prior. Mm-hmm. And I was really freaking out because I was still accumulating debt. So now it was maybe up to $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, and just trusting that this would happen. On day 2 of the shoot, after I was kind of threatened by one of the crew members to pay me, a day after I was threatened and told them to be, just chill, I finally got half of my money. Half. I think it was half or a third. It was half or a third, but it was enough to not only pay my crew, pay off my debt.
You'd be happy if that would be just.
It was It was honestly the happiest, other than the birth of my son, the happiest I've ever been in my life.
The relief.
it really was like I entered the pearly gates, and I just can't even tell you like the amount of emotion that this was not only real, but that I had somehow manifested or manufactured this solution to my this freedom. It was really something that I'll cherish forever. But
you think they'd pay you $100,000 if you asked?
They might have paid me $100,000. But I didn't. That's another thing. I chose 65,000 for 3 commercials, and again, it was done really professionally. But it was on the web back then. I probably could have gotten more, but I didn't want to lose the job. You know.
That's a lot. 65 grand. That's a lot.
Like I'm. Yeah, it is a lot.
That's what back in 2005.
Yeah.
It was like 80,000, 90,000 now.
Oh yeah, exactly, yeah. And I'm a closer, okay? So like in any of the jobs, I used to have a manager for a long time, and a great manager named Steve Stewart. He represented Stone Temple Pilots and a couple other bands, and then he moved into the YouTube space. That's when he represented me. Love the guy. He then now is in the crypto space, so he's like out of it. But for the time that I was with him, he was like a fantastic negotiator and was like my buffer. I don't have a buffer anymore. I just negotiate directly, but I pride myself on closing deals, and I'm really good at kind of sussing out what that number is that's going to make it happen, and move forward. Like it constantly fluctuates. I don't really have like a set rate, It's like more of a sliding scale. It depends on where I'm at, financially, to be honest.
Did they end up being happy with the commercials?
Oh, they were very happy with them. They did well, yeah. But I think they're no longer.
What was the product?
I put them on my website on YouTube, but I think because they disbanded, they're no longer a company. They took theirs off, but they had amassed, I think, close to 1 million views. I know Perez Hilton tweeted about it. Like there were a lot of people back then who shared them. This was again at a time where people weren't doing that as much. So yeah.
Did you like Tom Cruise movies in the first place?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't
just like a fan.
I don't have a shrine to Cruise. I'm not like obsessed with him, but I certainly appreciate his work and I admire his the reasons behind his success. I get it. He's extremely driven, charismatic, and chooses great roles and works with terrific directors, and he's selective. He knows.
You like more Tom Cruise old school or the new era, modern era?
I prefer old school Cruise because now I think he's just making movies. He says he's making movies for the fans, doing a lot of stunts. Like how many Mission Impossibles am I gonna, endure? Or,
the last one flopped.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason it flopped is because it's kind of an arrogant thing to do. But when you split up a movie like that and do part 1, part 2, you're really asking a lot from the audience.
But at the same time, the week after was the Barbenheimer.
They were competing. They were competing against a lot. Yeah,
he got no IMAX screens, all that.
But he had tremendous success with Top Gun Maverick. So it's like
honestly, I didn't think
that was a phenomenon.
I didn't think that was going to be that good of a movie. That's an incredible movie. Yeah,
it was very good. Better than people. First of all, it was better than people expected. It hit all the right notes, and I understand why it was so successful, because I think the biggest reason is because it's appealing to so many different, the 4 quadrants, like in terms of marketing. Like it didn't piss anyone off, first of all. Like how you have an enemy in the movie? Who's the enemy?
No one knows.
Exactly.
The Russians, the Iranians,
it's not a country.
Chinese.
Yeah, because then if you were to say the Russians or the Chinese, you would lose that as an income stream.
Yeah.
So the producers are very savvy. They knew they had to do a faceless enemy, and it wasn't about the enemy. It was about the mission and the crew and the crew.
They could do like Spielberg did with the Terminal, Krakosia.
Right.
What kind of
totally.
Krakosia this is?
Exactly. Make up a. Yeah, but but in terms of other movies, modern day movies, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Edge of Tomorrow. I think that's a masterpiece from modern, sci-fi thriller. I love it, and it just gets better and better. I love Groundhog Day. I love the trope of Groundhog Day, and I'm a huge fan of Magnolia. And I hear that he's coming back to those roots. He wants to work with more auteur directors these days. So that's exciting for me, because if he works again with, I I think he's going to do he has a cameo, I think, in the Tarantino movie, so that'll be great.
Yeah, I think so.
But the movie critic, a film critic or movie critic.
Yeah.
But if he works with Paul Thomas Anderson again, or maybe Ari Aster, you don't know. He might work with one of these guys.
So I'm not a big fan of Tom Cruise and his movies, but
you're not?
I like his movie called Vanilla Sky.
Okay, so you're not a fan. You're not a fan of Cruise. Not particularly.
Not a fan of his movies. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But the Vanilla Sky.
You like that?
That's an amazing. I watched it like 20 times.
It's great.
That's a great movie. It has so many layers.
Have you seen the original, Abra los Ojos?
No, that's a Spanish one, right? Mm-hmm. So the original is better.
I think so. I think so overall, but there's definitely elements of Vanilla Sky that are incredible. Just him running through Times Square, and
and that's crazy. They shot
I think, and Penelope Cruz and him have great chemistry, and Penelope
Yes.
was in the original too, but their chemistry is great, and Cameron Diaz is always very good with Cruz.
And it's crazy they shot this scene on the Times Square, literally, with no green screen.
I know, that's amazing.
How can you do that on the Times Square?
Very
You're
limited.
in New York, that's impossible, right?
Very few takes and a very limited time window to shoot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been to New York yet.
No,
never.
Oh wow,
I've heard that's
something you should do
since 2020, isn't it?
I mean, you'll still have a nice time. It's changed a lot.
So what are the places that you shouldn't go to?
You shouldn't,
or you should just go to Manhattan and that's it.
No, I mean, the other boroughs are nice. The
Bronx.
Yeah.
Daytime.
Bronx is cool. Yeah, sure.
Nighttime.
Bronx is great for like the delis and the Italian food. Fantastic. Brooklyn is, everything's very overpriced now and very hip, gentrified. But Astoria, Queens.
You know what's crazy with Tom is that he's considered for more than 30 years as a top actor, right? But only in 2022 he's got his first movie reach $1 billion.
Oh wow!
He doesn't have a lot of movies that were financially super successful. You can't say that. So The Age of Tomorrow, I want to say 350 million gross max. That's why they're hesitating with the sequel. But he's considered still the best. He doesn't have any Oscars. 4 nominees, no Oscars, only Golden Globes. Did you watch the Oscars?
Well, now I'm taking
night?
this very personally. Yeah, I watched it last night. Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I mean, it was a pretty boring show. Like from a production standpoint, I think there were some.
No Will Smith.
Yeah, exactly. There were some fun moments, but overall, compared to like Billy Crystal Oscars that I grew up with, I mean, it doesn't even compare. It's like they were just rushing through it all. Even though they kept saying it was very long, a long show, it wasn't. It was just like, everyone just cruising through it all. Like there wasn't great interactions with anybody. I mean, there were some funny bits though, like the John Cena bit was funny with the streaker.
Oh yeah.
That was funny. And I think Jimmy Kimmel's is pretty good as a host, and I liked some of his jokes. But he's also, he's not Billy Crystal. He's not Steve Martin. He's not that caliber.
Yes.
At all.
He's not the A class.
No. He's not.
For sure. What do you think of Oppenheimer getting 7 Oscars? You like the
I
movie?
mean, it's an incredible, epic, cinematic spectacle of a film. I think that it's deserving in many regards, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen all the nominees, so I can't really speak on all of that. But I'm watching Poor Things right now. I'm like halfway through that, and I haven't seen American Fiction. I heard that's great. I haven't seen the 2 foreign films. I haven't seen Zone of Interest, which I really want to see, and I haven't seen the Fall one, Anatomy of Fall. I hear that's terrific. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably deserving of Best Picture. Flowers of the Moon got overlooked. I think I thought Lily Gladstone was amazing.
Yeah, she was. She definitely.
She was really great, and it's a harrowing story. Like that. It's a lot to sit through 3.5 hours, but it was an unbelievable story and so disgraceful. But But I think it was way too long.
I believe they gave the Oscar to Oppenheimer because of Nolan, because he deserved it, just like they did with
That's
the
probably
Leo,
true. That's probably true.
2016 with the Revenant.
Yeah.
He was well deserved to get an Oscar a decade ago. So Nolan was worthy of multiple Oscars.
But The Revenant was a pretty extraordinary display of his talents.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And everything was shot with no green screen, all that stuff. Nature. The stuff, the him crawling, climbing, those the mud in the water.
I don't know. I mean, I love Cillian Murphy, but I don't know if it was like the best performance.
Did you watch The Holdovers?
No, I haven't seen that either.
So I watched. Do you know the scandal with this movie right now?
I heard there's a plagiarism.
Yeah. So a lot of people say that's why the movie didn't get any Oscars.
Wow. Well, she got it. The supporting actress.
The supporting actress. I'm sorry. Yeah. So The Holdovers, I didn't like the movie, though. That's 70s to 80s style. Film. So
but verite.
Yes.
Like docu-style.
That's amazing. Like, I would say that's really a movie from the 70s. But the Paul Giamatti. Oh man, this guy is talented as hell.
Oh yeah.
I remember him from this TV show The Billions. And I liked his acting.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And in The Holdovers, he's magnificent.
Wow.
He's the type of a guy that, in The Sopranos, Armageddon, this guy, he was always a supporting actor. Boardwalk Empire. How is it called? This guy's name?
Steve Buscemi?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
He's not the leading role.
No.
But when he does the supporting role, man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi is amazing.
Yeah.
I remember him in Boardwalk Empire. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
For sure.
Let's go to artificial intelligence and your perspective on that. So right now we've got this kind of deepfake quality that you can't even recognize whether that's real or not, right?
Yep.
So in perspective, your job is going to an end.
Go away?
Yes. Or isn't it?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, certainly anything digital could go away. Like anything, my voice, replicating voices, that could go away. Although I don't know if like the inflection and the choices I make, the performance quality will be replicated as easily. I mean, certainly they could try, but there might be something missing. But look, one day that'll happen. Digitally for the face, sure. I actually pioneered deepfake technology for any actor utilizing it in the early days back in 2019, 2018, I think it was. This is before, you might have heard of this other guy who does Tom Cruise deepfake. He went viral. I think it's called...
The ones who did the golf with the Tom Cruise?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that came after I did my stuff. So they basically took what I did and just did it with better technology. This guy, Miles Fisher. And they spent more time. The longer you spend on a deep fake, the longer you spend working, let's say, Tom Cruise's face and my face, the better it will become. And you need a good subject. You need a subject who kind of has the same facial structure and stature.
So you get less adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. Less adjustments. The hair really helps too. So having the right kind of like canvas. And I started doing deepfake as a tool to enhance what I was already doing as sketch comedy. And I was just using a wig and glasses, and now I'm using this technology. And I was working with the very best deepfake technicians in the business. This is before it was a business. And I did a video with Corridor Digital, which is a very successful visual effects YouTube channel. They did a video called The Very Best Deepfake on the Internet, okay? And it was using me as their subject, an impersonator, and putting the deepfake mask on me and talking about the process with the audience and how it all comes together. And this is very crude and raw. This is years ago. This is back in, I think it was 2019, right before COVID. And And that did very well, you know, it has 3.5 million views. And that launched, that actually, since that came out, I've been working consistently. That video really got me to another level because it showed my talent. So it's not just about looking like the character. Yeah. Again, that's just a lookalike thing. But I improvised a very funny interaction with this crew, the Corridor Digital crew at their office, as if Tom Cruise walked in. They put the mask on me and I have this funny interaction. So, you know, anyone could look like Tom Cruise with the right kind of facial structure if you just throw the mask on. And I think that it will eventually take away some work from me, but I think at that point it'll also be an issue with celebrities and the unions, and it might even become an issue this year. Who knows? But it's already been talked about. You've already been hearing about the...
That was an issue last year.
Yeah, it was, of course.
The strike.
But it hasn't quite got... I mean, and also there's you know, the Taylor Swift thing that was done with the internet and or done on Twitter or X.
With the nudes?
The nudes, exactly. So the more... I mean, look, that's been happening for a while. They've been doing deep fake porn for a long time. But this was like... This looked very real as an image from like, you know... If you're very impressionable and gullible, you might believe it, right? And that's how it starts. It's like some people, we're all on a spectrum of gullibility. Mm-hmm. And people with like the Miles Fisher deepfakes, right? He didn't try to be funny. He just was like, there might be a little quirk going on, a little quirkiness, but he wasn't doing sketch comedy like I was doing.
Yeah.
I have a disclaimer and I say, this is sketch comedy. This is deepfake. When he put his stuff out, he just was like shock and awe, let me fool people. And I found it to be very deceptive. I didn't agree with their approach. They backpedaled on it and said that it was too, you know, it was a cautionary tale or like a way to warn you about the encroaching technology and perils of deepfake. But they didn't approach it that way. They approached it as a way to go viral, have enormous success, which they did, and then have it as a calling card for the visual effects artists to get a job at Lucas, at Lucas's company, George Lucas. So I don't love their approach, but just to close it out though, I don't like doing deepfake anymore. You know, like I'll do it with my friend Jeff Richards, who is an incredible impressionist. Because we do, again, long-form improv. It's clearly improv. He throws on a mask of the 100 impersonations he does, Robert Downey Jr. or whatever, you name it. He does so many, and I do the Tom Cruise. And we have conversations like this, but with the deepfake mask. Yeah. That's the only thing I'll ever do. I don't really agree in the ethics of it anymore, even as a spoof, unless it's abundantly clear it's a spoof. But my live performance work, unless holograms replace me, I'll have for a very considerable amount of time. That won't go anywhere.
Do you remember a few years ago there was a deep fake of Will Smith eating the noodles, the spaghettis?
Yeah.
So that was like a cartoonish thing.
Yeah.
This year with the Sora, did you see what this is?
With Will Smith again? With who?
No. So the Sora is... it came from the guys that brought you ChatGPT, OpenAI.
Oh, yeah.
So you prompt whatever you want, and they make a...
It spits out a video, 60 seconds?
60 seconds.
Right, will eventually become an hour, will become 2 hours, and it'll get more and more enhanced. And yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, there was the Bud Light kind of fake AI commercial, or Budweiser. So they replicated a commercial. It was almost like a nightmare fuel fever dream. But it was a decent commercial. Yeah. It just was like, it was psychedelic, you know. And a lot of these look very psychedelic. It's like a trip. Yeah. So it's not reality, but it's some measure of reality. It's something still grounded in reality. It's not an ayahuasca trip, but it's like, you know, it might be like a mushroom trip. Yeah. But the point is, it's happening. It's happening very quickly, and some organizations and unions are taking measures to protect their members, and hopefully we can postpone it for as long as possible. But in the end, studios and producers are going to do whatever they're going to do to save money and to cut costs. And if they don't, the way I see it, I have a very negative view of it all.
You can't stop the technology.
You can't really stop the technology if we live in a capitalistic society.
What do you mean?
Meaning it's all about the money, and they don't care about people losing jobs. It's all about how can they maximize profits, and AI will help them do that because you don't have to pay AI. You might have to license something, maybe you might have to license it, but you don't have to pay anyone. The AI doesn't take bathroom breaks. AI doesn't have an ego. AI isn't a diva, So,
but don't you think that people gonna recognize the AI stuff and the real stuff, just like we recognize the real music from the 70s, 80s to 90s, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and the shit that is going on right now with the music industry.
But it's going to get to that point.
All the algorithms.
It's going to get to the point where it's not only. Jimmy Kimmel made a joke last night, and he's entirely right. Like, do you think some AI could have written Transformers 7, whatever it was? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. There's so many shitty scripts out there. There's so many terrible movies that have been made that,
they're flopping.
But AI probably could have done a decent job of replicating that, or even better. Who knows? The point is that it's going to keep getting better.
Yes,
and
exponentially.
And there's no stopping it. The only thing you can do as a human being is acquire more skills and make yourself more valuable and pivot. And if you're not, then you're gonna lose.
You see, what I'm most afraid of is not some actors getting AI or something like this. I'm most afraid of the scenario like this when, for instance, Russians are being showed a video of Biden.
Propaganda, or like political,
Just a Biden
whatever.
Or another president saying, we declare war on
totally.
Russia.
Of course.
On national TV. That's it, we're done.
Well, hopefully there's some pause and checks and balances and not rash decision-making being done in political arenas, Like, yes, I agree, that's scary. Like if the Pope comes out and says something, or whatever, Yes, that there will be many people who believe that. That's what I'm saying. There's a gullibility spectrum, okay? But things have to be vetted, The vetting doesn't stop. So hopefully the vetting process can determine that this is AI. That's all,
But it seems like they're not stopping. They're full throttle. They're pedal on the gas. Let's go.
Yes, it's gonna get worse before any of it gets better. If it gets better.
Do you think AI is a threat to humanity, just like in the Terminator?
I think we've been conditioned and brainwashed on entertainment like the Terminator to think of nightmarish scenarios. I don't think that is the likely outcome. As I speak to other technologists and hear more from other technologists, most technologists have a very negative view, by the way, but there are some like Steve Wozniak and a few others that share his viewpoint that we will be the pets of robots one day, which means in the nicest way possible, be treated kindly, not like, abusive owners of pets, but like, they'll take care of us. We'll be allowed to frolic and play in our little playground of Earth, and they'll take care of all the things that we used to take care of. The functioning of society, the machinations of society. The way things work and operate, and we don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. We could just be creative beings, and that's the most positive view that I've heard. That's a possibility.
The most positive.
The most positive.
I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about my son, my future.
Of course.
You have a child.
Yes.
A kid almost 3 years old.
Yeah.
That's the future they're going to live in.
It could be. And then I hear that this whole idea that robots or AI are going to be sentient won't come to fruition. So that all this talk of that being our biggest concern, that once it becomes sentient, that's when we're going to have a problem, because they're going to determine that the human beings are the virus and scourge of the earth, and they're going to wipe us out, knowing that when they develop consciousness. But I hear that's just science fiction, just fear Fear-based thinking.
Evan, I've seen some tweets from 3 years ago. There were some people on Twitter saying, the one guy was tweeting like, "Can you in the nearest future we're gonna have an engine that where you can prompt some stuff and the video comes up."
Right.
3 years ago, and people in the comments were bashing this guy. In
Wow.
the nearest future, like no way, it's like 50 years.
Oh yeah, no, it's
3 years.
I know.
We got it now.
I know, it's incredible, and obviously it'll be utilized by certain producers. Oh, here's why I have a negative view. So Tyler Perry recently shut down his $800 million studio because of this demonstration he saw.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And this guy is a genius.
Well, he's built a lot. I don't love his stuff, but like he's done very well for himself for a good reason. Yeah, he's done the right things. But my point is that audiences at large, don't care about the quality of work that they see as much as we do. Look, you may not like Tom Cruise movies, but you do appreciate art, right?
Sure.
Right. So I appreciate art as well. Most people don't give a shit about that, okay? Most people just want to see something passable and entertainment and eat their popcorn, okay? They don't care. So when the level of quality reaches a certain point, it doesn't have to be Scorsese quality, it doesn't have to be anything like Nolan quality. And by the way, they can create something like Nolan, okay? I'm telling you, AI can get there. They'll get there one day. Audiences just don't care anymore about the level of quality. So that's the real problem that we face, is that people just don't care. Consumers don't care. And that's why this is going to keep going and growing and working. Because the studios and producers are going to save a ton of money and, again, maximize profits. And people will keep paying for this manufactured crap. But they don't care. So it's going to work.
So what you're saying is the distinction between the ones who love art, who watches movies as art.
It's a small pool of people.
Like 1%?
I don't know, but it's not enough to keep this going.
So distinction is going to be even bigger.
Yeah. I think it's Scorsese and I think Spielberg several years ago, maybe Lucas, came out with a statement saying that eventually movies will become such a niche thing that we'll just be seeing them like we do Broadway shows. They'll be $150 a ticket, They'll be like big spectacles, but you'll only go see the Oppenheimers. You'll go see like the big movies, but you'll pay a lot of money for them, and that's just how it's going to be. And I think that's true.
It's true already, because
it's already very expensive.
20 years ago, you were watching how many movies a year?
Yeah.
And now, for the past 3 to 4 years, I watched like 5 movies. Max.
Yeah. Or you see them on different platforms. Yeah.
They're just crappy, shitty movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's still.
I'm waiting for the Nolan, Tarantino.
There's still very good movies being produced. I mean, look, I love Triangle of Sadness. I love the other director, Yorgos. I like.
Lanthimos, yeah.
There are a lot of great movies being made. It's just they're being made overseas. There are not a lot of great American movies being made.
Yes.
But I think that's going to change. I think that the pendulum always swings the other way. There was a statement that is not. It's not like I haven't heard it before, but last night by one of the writers that won, I think, who said, look, studios, it was kind of a call to action. You've got $200 million. Making movies is risky in general.
Yes.
Why not just make $10 million films?
Yes.
Just try that out. And, again, they know this. They've thought about this. They've done that before. Years ago, back in like the early 2000s, I think, they had these small independent, parts of studios.
Yes.
Right? They closed those all down. They weren't successful for very long.
Yeah.
But they did try to do that, like Paramount Classics and Sony, like the smaller divisions of the studios that did only indies.
But now you got the A24 studio.
Yes.
Amazing movies.
There aren't enough of them, though. There aren't enough companies that do it.
Yeah, that's cool. They've got like no competition.
Well, many of them go bankrupt, Many
Did you watch Euphoria?
The show?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a masterpiece.
For TV, yes.
Every episode is like a movie. Mm-hmm. That's a masterpiece from all aspects.
Yeah.
From the acting, music, composing, camera angles, the color corrections. That's a masterpiece. And the first season is like this. The second season is the vice versa.
Yeah.
It's like way different.
For a show set in high school, it's amazing that they made it into what it is. I mean, it's way beyond anything I could have ever anticipated.
Listen, I'm 36 almost. I watched this TV show and I was like, there were so many layers in this movie.
Right.
So this is all about, this is what,
Yeah.
I can see all the different things.
Yeah.
You being a teenager, you watch the Euphoria with the one lens. You being an adult, 30 to 40 years old, you watch this TV show getting
Right.
another lens.
Sure.
That's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
So the AI thing, I believe, is very dangerous, and I'm most of afraid of another thing is getting physical robots, just like Tesla does, right? Combining with an AI. Can you imagine a police officer?
In terms of, okay. So you're not talking about entertainment. You're just saying in
No.
society.
No.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about RoboCop.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's controlled not the morality, not some kind of values and principles. He's controlled by a program.
I could see that happening.
If you go to that program, you just hack into this police officer that is a robot.
Yeah.
That's a mayhem. You can do shit to the.
Right. I think we're a long ways off from that just because of jurisdiction and because of just legality and our society. And I think war, though, I think it'll be used in military campaigns more sooner than it would be used in civilian population, with police officers. I just can't see that flying right now. Because that could be corrupted and easily hacked. And
well, they tried this police officers' dogs robots in New York last year or 2022.
Interesting. So
they failed.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
Failed big time.
Wow.
They were they're useless.
Wow.
You kick it and it's like that's it.
I mean, look, you see the Postmate robots that are around LA that travel around. I mean, those are robots that are in society. I guess someone could hack them to do harm to another person, or hack them to bring a bomb to some, location, blow something up. I don't know. Something can happen, sure.
Did you watch this movie on Netflix with Julia Roberts about the
I don't know.
technology mayhem?
Oh, yes, I have. I saw that. Yeah.
How is it called, man? What do you think of it?
Long, but it was thought-provoking, but I didn't love it. I think it could have been better, but there were some great moments. I mean, the Tesla part was cool.
I'm as an owner, I was like,
Yeah, no, sure. That was
what
cool.
if I'm in the car when this thing happens?
Yeah, look,
it just drives its way.
A cyber attack by several countries that hate America that want to bring it down, sure. A coordinated effort. I'm sure that those scenarios have been played out in
like
military
a week ago,
rooms,
The AT&T T-Mobile outage.
Yeah.
They said that was some kind of a problem, but not a hack.
Now,
we're going to have to figure it out.
Look, people go crazy. I mean, they survive, but they go crazy when Facebook, Instagram goes down. They rush to Twitter, X, and are like, what's going on, or Coinbase goes down when they're trying to trade their, I don't know if you have any crypto, but I was on Coinbase the other day and my account, which I won't say what it was, but said zero balance. That's scary.
Second.
For longer than a second. For hours.
Hours.
Yes. Probably 2 hours. And then they finally fixed it. But the only reason I knew I was okay was because many other people around the country or world all were going through the same experience. So only because of the collective.
That made you better?
It made me better.
Better?
Well, it made me better because I knew that I wasn't alone. Because if you feel like you're alone, that means that you could potentially have been hacked. But knowing that, now granted, it could have been a collective hack. It could have been
FTX.
Sure, it could have been. But then I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not even real anyway. This whole thing was been ridiculous. I would hate to lose that because it's the potential to turn it into something real and tangible. But I've been in since 2017, not to talk about crypto, but I've been through a lot of ups and downs with it. And I'm just I've got thick skin. And I've also been an investor in the stock market since late 90s. I've been through many bear and bull markets, okay? I just am okay. I ride it out. I don't get scared and spooked by 20%, 30% drops. I'm okay. I dollar cost average. I'm savvy about it. I know what to do. I'm diversified. But with crypto's a little scarier of a place. So my TD Ameritrade or Schwab account doesn't go down like Coinbase goes down. Coinbase going down or Robinhood going down, not that I'm in Robinhood really, but that's scarier because it's like a new technology, new platform. People don't really know, what if it's going to be okay. They just don't know. And also, you just brought up all these closures of these other platforms and people losing all their money or their coins. That's scary. It can happen. Super solar flares, things like that. That's more, nature. But if you talk about hacking, certainly, people are capable of doing things like that today. And that's going to be, maybe the next big war we fight, or it's always happening. Maybe it's just a continuous war that we've been fighting. Who knows?
We kind of have no idea how many cyber attacks are on the US, for instance, because they just don't happen. Maybe they would say like thousands, millions of attacks every month from China, Russia, Iran, etc.
We have an Iron Dome.
Yeah.
If you think of it like that, like we have ways of stopping these constant the rockets that are being fired at us, but the hacking digital rockets.
Before we continue, shout out to Igal.
Yeah.
Amazing producer.
Oh yeah, is this the second time?
Second one, yes.
Okay.
So let's wrap up with the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Imagine a scenario when you watch the Vanilla Sky. You remember the ending?
He talks to tech support.
Yeah, that was a simulation.
Yeah. Oh yes, a simulation. That's right.
What would you feel? Would you be disappointed if you realize that your life as it is right now is just a straight up simulation?
Similar to the Matrix, even though he was an evil character, where he's asked the same question, Joe Pantaleone, by one of the agents while he's eating a steak. As long as I have the senses to physically enjoy something, what does it matter? That's the question. Does it really matter? Knowing it's real or not. What is real? What isn't real? We don't even know why we're here on this planet, for God's sakes. There's so many bigger questions. The whole simulation thing would be an answer, at least. It might make people feel like a weight's been lifted off of them, because then that would at least be an answer to the question of why we're here. It would at least get closer to the truth. We are so far from the truth, and we scramble around and try to conceive of, a multitude of reasons why we're on this planet, or why we're in this universe or in space, and what our purpose is, and no one is closer to the truth than anyone else. And the people who think they are, frankly misguided, because why would they know? Why would they know anything? We're ants in an ant farm, specks of dust. I come from an existential point of view, standpoint. I find purpose in life. You have to get by, but it's all manufactured.
So on the internet, there are a few clips that there is a video game kind of a dash simulation when you can, with your character, you can speak to NPCs. You know what's an NPC?
Yeah,
non-playable character. You can speak to them with your mic, and they are wired with the AI, just like speaking to a ChatGPT. So there is a guy who was playing this game, and he was speaking to those NPCs, and he was asking those questions like, who are you? No, I'm a girl, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor. And then he says, no, you're not. You're just a simulation.
Wow.
And they started responding like, don't say that. I'm not comfortable hearing that. That's impossible. I can't hear it. No, stop it. Don't do that. If you would tell me that I am a simulation, I would say the same thing. Stop it. That's impossible.
Yeah, but who I
would never believe that.
Of course, but who am I to tell you that? That means that I know something that you don't know.
That's exactly how those NPCs reacted. Who are you to tell me that? I'm just telling
I know,
you,
but
you're a simulation.
But I would never believe that you would have the knowledge to tell me that with certainty, with 100% certainty and certitude. I wouldn't believe it, because who are you to tell me that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but there are way more smarter people than me and you combined in the world, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they know something that we don't.
They don't. They think,
how do you know that?
They think from a statistical and probability standpoint, like Elon Musk has said something. Again, it's nothing new. This has been talked about for years. Michael Talbot wrote The Holographic Universe. Okay, this is back in the 80s or 70s, I think, and he proposed this, which Elon was clearly, and many other people in the scientific community or the billionaire community, people who are constantly exploring immortality and things like this, they're greatly inspired by these works. Okay. the notion that this is a simulation is nothing new. It's just that it's another theory that mathematically and statistically it's possible, but that doesn't mean we know for a fact that it is. There's still so many questions,
And you'll figure it out once you die. That's the only way.
Or you don't figure, or once you die, that doesn't guarantee you'll have the answer. Because then you'll have to have the consciousness to even absorb that knowledge. Like, who knows where your consciousness will be.
So you're not religious, but do you believe in God?
I certainly believe in a higher power. I don't know what it shapes. Yeah, sure. I don't know what shape it takes, what form it takes, but I certainly believe that there's something bigger than me out there.
So you think God created us, or we're the product of evolution?
Well, there's part of me that believes that we are the universe experiencing ourselves. We are, I guess that's a God complex of sorts, but we're all completely interconnected as one giant organism. And that's a feeling I have sometimes through deep meditation or I've done some psychedelics, like I've had that takeaway. But again, I'm not walking away from these experiences, these phenomenons in my life. Like I've had out-of-body projections, I've had astral projections, I've had really incredible, profound experiences in life. But I still can't say with certainty of anything. Like I'm just not, capable of doing that. I'm incapable of certainty.
So do you think
I can only speculate, and that's all we can do. We can speculate till the cows come home. But why would any of us? It's the same thing with conspiracy theories. I have fun throwing around conspiracy theories, but to be
a lot of
certain,
them came true recently.
Okay, sure, but to be certain of them without them actually coming true, that's like, what's the point? Like you're just speculating.
You just believe.
Sure.
Just like you believe in God, there is something, someone. That's it.
I'm agnostic. I believe in something.
You see, there are two different models of living, I want to say. If you believe in evolution, it means that you believe in Big Bang, so you were just a dust, an ant, an atom, then a bacteria, then you became a human. But if you believe in God, the Bible says God created you on purpose. Mm-hmm. So it means that someone is looking after you. You were made with a purpose to do something. You're not an ant. You're not a bacteria.
I think there can be. I don't think it's one or the other, though. I think you can have God or a belief of a higher power, and you can also have the Big Bang and evolution. I think that there's a great book where a scientist and a Tibetan monk, I believe, or someone who's spiritual and someone who's scientific have answers or asking questions and answering questions that are the same, and they have different vernacular and ways of answering the questions, but they're literally saying the same thing. And so I think that scientists often arrive, whether it's before or after, the same, they come to the same conclusion that spiritualists have.
But if we take a look at, for instance, at the human body, an organism, that's a masterpiece.
Sure. And
everything you see.
And you look at the eye, of course,
And I believe, I mean, all the systems, the immune system, all the lymphatics, all that stuff, plus you add the hormones, then you add emotions. Who could create this? That's definitely not an accident.
So when I say I believe in God, or I believe in this form that may take the shape of a God, or whatever, I don't like the word God. I don't like to fit it into one particular religion or anything like that. But yes, I absolutely believe in a higher power. That's the only way I could really describe it. I just don't give it a name.
I believe the hardest thing for a teenager, once he turns 18 to 20 years old, is to decide what college should he go to study, what to become, and etc. Then when you go into your 30s, the biggest question, I believe, becomes is, who are you? What are you? What are you doing? What's the purpose of life? Do you think if humanity got the true answer to the question, why are we here, who we are, and what's the purpose, it would be much easier for the humanity just to exist, to live, to prosper?
Well, it might cripple people as well, because they're, it depends on where you're at in your, if your goals and future prospects, or if you're aligned with what the truth actually is, then I think it'll be an easier path forward. But if it completely dismantles your worldview and your universal view of things, that might absolutely cripple you. I would say just stop you in your tracks. I mean, I don't know. It could have devastating effects and consequences. It's like if an alien were to bring the world together, because now we have a greater force to deal with, right? And the alien comes and they say that they're Christians, okay?
Muslims would be upset.
It would be monumentally devastating to some parts of the population.
Yeah, maybe not Muslims because they recognize Jesus.
Sure. Well, whatever it is, or if they say that there is no religion, or whatever, this is what they believe. Even if just the fact that aliens come at all from a distant world or planetary system, that alone, regardless of their religious stance, would completely dismantle most organized religions, because most organized religions believe in a geocentric model of the universe and not a heliocentric model. They believe in order, and heliocentric is chaos.
Yes.
And that's why flat earthers, even though I won't completely connect them to religion, but a lot of them are religious, right? Because flat earth puts the earth in the center and and gives their life meaning.
Yes.
And that's why there's such a strong connection to flat earth for flat earthers, because they cannot live in a world without meaning and chaos ever anymore. They can't survive in a world where they know that the world is complete chaos, and order and God go hand in hand, right? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my throw up answer.
So you're a movie guy, right? So
Yeah.
in a few weeks, I want to say March 27th, something like this, on Netflix, there is a show that comes out, Three Body Problem. You heard of it?
Three Body Problem?
Three Body Problem.
No.
So this show is based on a trilogy of books that were written by a Chinese author.
Okay.
And the books are well recognized in sci-fi communities.
Yeah.
So I've read the books. The books are amazing, especially the first one. I don't know what you're gonna see on the screen with the show, but the book.
Yeah.
Speaking of aliens and the technologies and the AI and all that stuff. So the way that is depicted in the book, it's like I have never seen it on the screen.
Wow.
I've never
A Chinese writer?
Chinese writer, yeah.
But of course it's adapted.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Three Body Problem. That's a masterpiece.
Okay.
And the show is coming out 27th.
Cool.
I'll say,
Wow.
On Netflix.
I'll check it out. Yeah. I mean, I said before, like, science fiction, it's science fiction, like it's not, but obviously, a lot of reality becomes science fiction, and so and vice versa. Like a lot of Star Trek stuff becomes real, and one day, but there's still, certain things that I don't, Skynet. I'm not on board with that. I don't think that's gonna happen.
There's some kind of a Skynet, I want to say, maybe a little part of it for instance, in China with they have 700 million CCTVs in China with the social credit score.
Well, that's scary. That's very very Black Mirror. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But the Black Mirror episode was obviously inspired by that. Life imitates art, art imitates life. Clearly, when Black Mirror gets in their writer's room and they're talking about what ideas they're going to do, because it's all about technological terror, like techno horror. That's a genre.
Yes.
They try to find subjects and stories that are rooted in reality already, so that it enhances our fear. So it's very close to home. And a lot of people can't watch Black Mirror.
It's very close to home.
It's extremely intense because we're 2 steps away from it. Like we're a few years behind China, maybe 5. I don't know what it is. Maybe that'll happen. Social credit scores here, it could. That's frightening.
How about Canada? They're thinking of just banning, going even to prison for hate speech, all that stuff. Just in Canada, that's a bit north to the U.S.
It's terrifying, because instead of developing thick skins, which is what I did when I was younger, thicker skins, we're now so hypersensitive that we're having to criminalize any kind of speech that isn't deemed, acceptable.
So my theory is this. So I was a bully in school, and I'm not proud of it, right?
Right.
But I couldn't help myself. I was doing that because of many reasons.
Sure.
So my theory is this. The ones that were bullied 20, to 30 years ago,
Yeah.
they now got into power. And that they all remember that stuff. And they just want revenge.
You might be right. I think so. I mean, look, I was bullied a little bit, but I don't have ill will towards my the people who bully me, really. I just think it was part of childhood. And again, I recognize that it was their upbringing and how their parents raised them. There's their environment. And
Yes.
I was thrown in sandboxes. I was picked on constantly for being short. I was, for being Jewish.
What's
Sandbox, it's a box of sand that the kids play in, the build thing.
They put you in the box?
Throw me in the box, yeah. Or given many wedgies, you know what a wedgie is?
No.
Pull you up by the underwear, put you on a
That's the real thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was only in the movies.
No. Well, it's in the movies because it happened.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, like, I was chased down a lot. I was thrown into, I'd never gotten many physical fights, but I was definitely bullied. But again, like, I came from a different time. There were a lot of people back then in my school that were affected more, deeper than I was, and were suicidal or were very incredibly depressed and had to go on medication, and that's terrible. But and I'm of course against bullying, but I don't think that. I think that, it's impossible to eradicate is my point. So because it's impossible to eradicate fully, you have to teach your kids to develop thicker skins. Because it's impossible to completely get rid of.
But who does that in family? A father.
A father,
dad.
Typically, yeah.
But if he's absent.
If the father's absent, yeah. I mean, then the mother has to step in and do that, yeah.
What we're seeing right now, that's a fatherless society across the world.
Yeah.
Not in Islamic countries, not maybe in Russia, in China, not, but in the Western societies, those are fatherless,
right?
Completely. If we take black communities, that's a big problem.
Yeah,
that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
So who the ones who teach sons to stand up for themselves, the ones who teach their daughters to get a high value of themselves, is dad.
Yeah. I don't have a daughter, thankfully. I'm grateful for that because that'll be hard for me.
I can only imagine, Dad, this is the guy.
This is the guy, or just the whole. I mean, honestly, the biggest fear these days, is like, and I'm a pretty sex positive guy, but there's OnlyFans is out there and all these things, and we've made it so acceptable for young girls who just turn 18 to just start, doing whatever they do for men or whoever on the internet to make money, and that's very acceptable.
10x what you make.
Yeah, and like I personally don't think. Look, I think it's empowering for a lot of people who were in, let's say, the sex industry, the porn industry. Now they are more empowered. They're doing it on their own. They're making money on their own. That's great. But I would hate to have a daughter in that position. That's my point. Like, it's one thing to see other women do this, but my own daughter, oh my God.
But that's the problem, not with the supply. It's the problem with the demand. If no one would watch this,
of course,
no one would pay $7 just
and
to see
there's an
vagina.
enormous demand, and there's also, maybe not surprisingly, but most the biggest percentage of consumers of porn are actually ones who are in very strict religious groups, who are told that they can't watch that stuff. So of course they're the biggest consumers. They sneak away and they find a way to consume it. So yeah.
Let's take a minute. Igal, the third mention.
Igal, third mention right after talking about OnlyFans. There you go. Igal, you'll forever be connected to OnlyFans.
You won't find him on OnlyFans. So I was doing a podcast with Imam, which is a preacher in Islam, right?
Okay.
I was asking him, so sex is kind of a forbidden topic in Islam, right? So what is God, what is Allah what does Allah thinks of sex in a marriage? He said one thing: you can do whatever you want if you're married.
If you're married,
behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If your wife agrees to that, if you agree to that, you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem that you said that a lot of religious people are watching porn is just because they think that that's bad, maybe they want to watch it. Then they have not happy marriages. They don't
Sure.
get to do what they see on the screen with their wives. Then they watch even more and
Right.
more and more of porn. They think of, listen, I was exposed to pornography.
They become desensitized. Yeah.
Yeah. I was exposed to pornography for the first time I was 7 to 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought that's sex, that's relationship.
Yeah.
7 to 8 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
And that was not as available as it is right now. That was a VHS videotape. We're locked in an apartment of our friend.
Right.
Mom's not home, dad not home. We just watched.
Of course.
Someone
Of course.
knocks, we're fucking afraid.
Yeah.
This VHS, that's
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Now, bro,
It's so easy. Yeah.
You
could be looking at it now. I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know. No. That is crazy.
I know.
And you having a boy, me having a son as well.
Yeah.
I'm very considerate of
my
that.
phone's going off right now, I think.
You can do it.
So
you can take a
shut
call.
it off.
You can take the call, no problem. So Evan, people like stories. Tell me a few crazy stories of you being Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, one that I just wrote about the other day. I'm actually compiling I hate the word memoir, but because it's such a grandiose thing. But I'm putting together a bunch of stories because I've had a really surreal existence impersonating Cruise. And one of them involved me earlier on in my career, post that credit card debt fiasco where I got out of it, but still then, after I burned through all that money, I now was in a semi-similar position, but I was working a little bit more consistently as a Cruise impersonator. And I got hired with my manager, got me an offer to do risky business, which is very rare because usually I'm hired by corporate America and risky business doesn't really vibe with, it's too, they're very conservative. Yeah. So sliding across the floor, my tighty whities, button down, old time rock and roll, akin to like a Chippendale dancer. Like that's kind of what I was, hired for. I say it like that. I mean, it wasn't, no one's giving me money or putting underwear down my pants, but I still felt like fresh meat. I felt like tender veal that everyone wanted, And I get hired to do this in Dubuque, Iowa, at a hotel called Diamond Joe Casino, and it was part of an '80s night. So they hired a lot of '80s themed people. One of them was I won't name any names, but one of them was a Village People, or actual Village People. The band, the famous band.
I got you.
So
YMCA.
Yeah, YMCA exactly. And I get ushered to my green room, and the gig, by the way, was about just to give it some sort of context. I was paid pretty well, like around $2,500 for 30 minutes of my time, which was excellent at the time, and I needed that money. I was living paycheck to paycheck. That money would help me pay rent that month. So I said, sure, I'll dance in my underwear, right? So I get to the green room, meet the guy, one of the YMCA guy, and he was very talkative, telling me a bunch of stories about his time on the road. He travels around doing YMCA like 300 nights out of the year. And we hit it off, just a lot of energy. He was an older guy, of course, and he immediately offered me a lot of cocaine out of his pocket. He had a big leather jacket with like Mary Poppins kind of like endless pockets, and he would fly internationally and not get busted. Like he'd carry cocaine all the time. And he pulled it out of his pocket and offered me cocaine like it was nothing, just so natural. And I declined, but I thanked him. It was a kind gesture.
Thank you, yeah.
And I think I drank a Red Bull to kind of get on his level, because it's kind of similar, not that far apart. But I go on a stage and do my thing, and I learned a valuable lesson that day that I should have worn 2 pairs of underwear, because the women that were in the audience, they were like all unhappily married women. I mean, I'm making a generalization, but it was a very depressing atmosphere. Alcoholic, older, unhappily married women, nicotine-stained fingers, and they were just clawing at my underwear, clawing at me, just vultures. Like they'd never seen someone like me in my, not that I was in great shape, but like, a young guy just looking like Tom Cruise. They just were obsessed. And I call up my manager after it was over, after I got through it, and I vented for a while. I was like, look, I never want to do this again. This was, I felt completely humiliated. This is not for me. I don't care how much I was paid. He was like, you're being ridiculous. You're paid this much money. You're being a bit of a diva. He said in the nicest way possible. But I really didn't enjoy myself. Like it wasn't for me, you know, or at least my mindset wasn't right going into it. Like I didn't like being fondled, you know? And then 2 weeks later, because I needed money, I took the same job in Fredericksburg, Indiana, at another hotel. So that's like the punchline is that I, of course, needed it. I said no, I'll never do it again, and I did it 2 weeks later.
And Iowa and Indiana are very conservative communities, right?
Yeah, but they let loose a little bit. I mean, I wasn't naked. I just was, you know, sliding across the floor in my tidy whities, you know, just Hanes, Fruit of the Loom. So that was that one. And I don't do that often. In fact, I think those were the only 2 times in my life that I've ever done risky business. So, no, there was one other time in actually, this is pretty funny, in Vegas. I get asked to do Vegas quite often. And it was for a corporate gig for thousands of people in the audience at a party in Vegas at Encore Casino, I think. And it was for a real estate conference, a lot of brokers. And it was 80s themed as well. So there was like a Madonna, there was a Tiffany, there was this and that, and there was Back to the Future or whatever. And I did 2 outfits. I did Top Gun Maverick and I did Risky Business. I started off with Top Gun. Because there's so many people there and there's a lot of impressionists or lookalikes there, I was in Top Gun and I wore a bomber jacket and jeans and aviators, and I got very little to no attention for the first hour and a half of the gig, of the 3-hour gig, before my next costume change. And it was brutally, you know, when you have no one giving you attention, yeah. It's like forever. It's like, it seems like a lifetime. And it was absolutely miserable. And then I kept thinking, oh my God, I have to change into Risky Business next and do this for an hour and a half. I want to kill myself, right? I had moments where I was just like, I just want to end it, right? I change into my outfit, I go out, and I'm not even kidding, like,
the audience blew up.
They absolutely loved it so much that I was swarmed the entire time. So my ego was completely destroyed. Now my ego was filled back up, right?
The balance.
And it was hilarious. Like, Risky Business is a major monster hit. Like, people love when I'm in my tidy whities with the button down. Like, it's funny. It's very funny because they love taking pictures with me. It's just like the best. When people are drunk, when people are liquored up, there's nothing better than you know, Joel Goodson from Risky Business. So I might as well tell you my other story of how I met Tom Cruise, because that's also a great story.
Yeah, that was on the list of my questions.
So Chateau Marmont, iconic landmark hotel in Los Angeles. They, you know, at that time, I believe it was open. I don't think it is anymore. Maybe they opened up the restaurant. But at that time, they had a really popular restaurant in the garden of the chateau. And I went there for dessert and drinks with my friend one night, a couple friends, my girlfriend Donna and my friend Jimmy Franklin and 2 other writers in Hollywood. And we get there, the place is packed. And then I run into my other friend, Matthew Belinsky, who is across the way, and he beckoned me over, or just like called me over, and said to me that he heard a rumor that Cruise was in the building. And I was like, wow, I hadn't met him at that point. I'd never met him.
What year was that?
This was maybe 2018 or maybe it was actually earlier. Maybe it was 2016. But point is, I never met him before. I was very excited about it. I'd already had a cocktail, so I was already kind of buzzing, and just, this was great. And Facebook was relatively, like, it wasn't new, but people weren't like sharing their day-to-day on it yet. They weren't like saying like a play-by-play description of what their night was like, oh, I'm at the chateau and like Tom Cruise is here. Like I started documenting my journey that night because I just thought it'd be fun to share with the people that I knew on Facebook, my friends and stuff. And they knew how happy I would be. So they were all rallying behind me. And I thought it would be a nice gesture. So anyway, I look around the room. I scour the room. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Scour the room. I couldn't see him. He was nowhere to be found. I go to the bathroom of the chateau. I look around the bathroom. Is he under the stalls? You know, no one.
You're like a vulture.
Yeah, I was like a vulture. I was a stalker. But I didn't see him anywhere. So I get back to my seat. I tell my friends, I was like, look, I guess maybe he left, you know, out the back door, and he was only here for a second. Then all of a sudden I noticed that he's to my left, like directly to my left. His back was to me, and I see his profile, and he's with a large dinner table, a group of like actors from The Office. So like I think John Krasinski was there. I think people from Zero Dark 30 were there. It had just come out, and then I forgot the actor's name, but the guy from Mission Impossible who was going to take Jeremy Renner. Mm-hmm. So they're all having a nice dinner, and I didn't want to bother him, of course, but I wanted to meet him, and I thought it'd be a nice gesture to send over a bottle of really great champagne and commemorate our meeting. And it would just be, I started picturing like how it's going to happen and like, you know, fantasizing about it. But I call over the waiter shoots me down. He says, there's no way, he says, you'll be banned and I'll be fired. Like you can't talk to Tom Cruise. You can't buy him a bottle of champagne. So I thought that's kind of sucked, but whatever, it was lame. But I said, all right, I respect your policy. I'll just be resigned to the fact that I'm just going to breathe the same oxygen as him and I'm just going to hang out in the same room. But I won't talk to him. I promised.
For a minute.
Yeah. So so we go on. I keep drinking. I'm having a good time, just again being in the same room as him, and I'm updating the Facebook, you know, my crew, my family, and letting them know like I probably won't meet him tonight, but he's here. It's very exciting. And my girlfriend Donna said that there's no way in hell you're leaving here tonight without meeting him, and she is. I hope I don't get this wrong, but I believe she's. I knew she grew up in Palestine, but I think she's Jewish. But she's got like she's like a very, you know, tumultuous mix, right? Where it was hard. It was a hard upbringing for her, and she was around a lot of, you know, bombs and war and, you know, just tough upbringing. But the point is that she has no fear. Okay, so when she said this, I knew that she was serious about making something happen, and. The night comes to a close. It's 2 a.m. Everyone else had cleared out. Tom Cruise finally leaves. And it's just me and my friend Jimmy and Donna having last drink, right, of the night, 2 a.m. Or maybe 1:45. And Donna excuses herself to go to the bathroom. My phone had died, so I had nothing, and I was drunk. And Jimmy luckily I gave Donna Jimmy's phone number just in case my phone died. She ends up calling Jimmy. And Jimmy, I didn't know it was her at the time. And he answers and he says to me, Tom Cruise is waiting for you in the valet.
No way.
Yeah. And I was like, shut up, you know? Like I thought he was kidding. I thought he was messing with me. And he was like, no, Donna's there. Tom Cruise is waiting for you in the valet.
Donna is the mother of your child?
No, she was a girlfriend at the time.
Why not?
Well, that's a whole nother story. But the point is, she was bold enough to approach him. So anyway, I get up out of my chair in the garden, drunk, and I run from the garden of the chateau to the valet. And he's there with Donna and Jeremy Renner about to get on their motorcycles. And she stopped them. She stopped them, told them about me, and I ran. And he was there waiting for me. And we embraced, we hug each other. He knew about my work because I had won a Best Tom Cruise Impersonator contest years ago on Extra, Mario Lopez's show. So he knew about my work. I don't know how well he knew my work, but he knew about me. And so I didn't do my impression in front of him. I just talked about my admiration for him and how cool this is. And we got a great picture together. And
I saw the picture.
Yeah. You know, it was just like an incredible night. And I didn't go to sleep that night. The only other time I didn't go to sleep because I was so excited was because I was a child actor. And many years ago when I was 15 years old, I was booked in a musical that Yoko Ono was the writer-producer on. So I worked with Yoko very closely. It was Yoko, myself, and like 7 other cast members. And it was Yoko was around 65 at the time, 64. I became close with Sean Lennon. Like it was this incredible experience. And because of all the snowstorms that year, I was invited to stay with Yoko at the Dakota. And I slept in John's bed in his room.
Really?
Yeah. And there were all these snowstorms, and I couldn't get into the city from where I was living in Westchester with my family. And so she invited me to stay there, and I stayed there for almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks because it was nonstop snowstorms. Like I had to rehearse the show in the city in Manhattan, and I couldn't get into the city. So she said, come stay with me. So I stayed there. My first night there, I played the white piano that he wrote Imagine on. Okay, I held his Grammy.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It was incredible. It was like the most monumentally like unique experience that anyone could ever have. And I had it at 15 years old, and I didn't go to sleep that night. I held his Grammy. I saw his Sgt. Pepper uniform. Like, wow. It was insane.
That's cool.
His Andy Warhol was above my head. George O'Keeffe, like incredible art. He has a mummy. It was wild. A
mummy.
Yeah, I had snowball fights in Central Park with her. But I'm just trying to give you some level of my excitement for meeting Tom Cruise, sleeping in John Lennon's bed.
Don't ever doubt whether to write a memoir or no.
I mean, I have incredible stories. Trust me. It's just a matter of remembering them and recollecting them. That's the thing. Like, I have to fill in some holes here and there, but obviously I don't want to embellish. I never want to embellish, but I absolutely need to fill in some holes somehow.
You mean what?
Like, I don't want to stretch the truth. Like, I truly have had, and look, a lot of people have, but I've had remarkable experiences, especially as a Tom Cruise impersonator. And I think not only are they humorous and fun to hear, so I think that's really the, like, in terms of them being, I don't want it to be a self-indulgent work. I don't want it to be just my ego. I want it to be like something that someone will either enjoy or learn from. So I'm trying to figure that out, like how to make it impactful, but it's a quirky story, it's a quirky tale, and I think that's what people will vibe with,
Do you have any experience of getting in trouble because impersonating Tom Cruise, for instance, with some kind of a fan?
No, but I did have some run-ins with Scientologists, years ago.
They thought you were Tom.
Not thinking I was Tom, but thinking I'm treading on his image, maybe, or his brand, in a potentially negative way. Yeah, but which I'm not. But I had some veiled threats, I think, or just some questionable moments of where I was concerned about my safety.
What they were saying, threatening with what?
Well, one incident happened where I get home after having done a lot of stuff online, like videos and stuff. This is after a year or two of making videos and content before, like during Vine days, YouTube and Vine, where I got home and there was a pair of Ray-Bans just like sitting, like waiting for me.
Inside?
Not inside, but right on my stoop. However, that one, someone could have left a pair of Ray-Bans, but still. I lived across the street from the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center. So
that's
who
in
knows?
New York or LA?
No, in LA. But the biggest one, the scariest one was, by far, there was a package that was above one of the mailboxes in my, in the opening in the front of my apartment complex, right? And it said Isabel Cruz on it, which is his daughter, not Suri, but Isabel. And I thought it was peculiar when I took a closer look at it, because that first caught my attention, but then I saw that there was no address on it. It just said her name. And then I didn't think she lived there. I don't think she.
No chance.
No. But there might have been actually an address. Maybe no, there wasn't. That's the whole thing. There wasn't an address, but there was something else on it, but not enough information to have it delivered. So it had to have been hand delivered. Is my point. My detective work, and then a week goes by, it's still there, and then I was like, that's really weird. And then all of a sudden, it's above my mailbox, like the next day, right? And then I was like, this is very strange. And then I picked it up, like shook it. Didn't feel anything.
Ticking? No?
Nothing. And then a week later, it's still there. And I thought, okay, it's not really mail. There's no postage on it. So I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm going to open it. So I opened it. And
how big of a package is it?
It was like this big. And what do you think's inside?
Head of a horse.
No. Nothing.
Empty.
It was just
a box,
in my mind, to get my attention.
Yeah, we know.
Exactly. So I call up the manager. I'm actually kind of scared now, that someone made a statement or trying to get my attention, right? And I say, I need to see you tonight. I have something that I want to talk to you about. I go there at the appointed time, and she's not there, but her friend is there watching her cats. And I say to her, I had a meeting here tonight to meet her. Can you just let her know I came by? She's like, oh yeah, what is it about? It's like, oh, well, I got this package this morning. I want to talk to you about it, some security thing. And she said, wait, you have a package? And I was like, yes. She's like, 2 gentlemen, British guys, came to the door. This is the day after I opened, or the same day that after I opened the package, to inquire about the package. They came to the door and knocked on the door and asked this woman who was watching,
Cats.
Yeah, the cats, and asked about the package that I just opened. And there's nothing in the package. So that was very scary to me, because now I know people are looking for this package or wanting to know what happened with this package. And I was looking over my shoulder for a good year.
By the way, the perfect place for you to live is just across the Scientology church.
Yeah.
How did you end up living there?
Well, it's a really hot neighborhood in LA.
That's Hollywood.
Yeah, but it's Franklin Village, Beechwood Canyon, very popular. That's where I met my partner, my wife.
Have you ever left the apartment with the Ray-Bans, with the wig? Maybe they saw you like...
I must have done that at one point. I used to also get drunk at La Poubelle like almost every night. And there was one incident where this was very stupid. We were playing around with a laser pointer, and like flashing it in the windows of the
church?
Yeah. Not smart, because they have like really serious security there. And there was a guy 7 years prior to that who did something much more dangerous, went into onto the property with a samurai sword and was killed.
Killed?
Yeah. Yeah. But he had a samurai sword on the property, breaking and entering.
Maybe he was in.
But a laser pointer can be like a sniper. It's like that's dangerous too. So that was dumb. But we did it because we were drunk and thinking it was funny, but we didn't realize how severe that could have been.
Please write the book. I'm gonna buy it. I'm telling you, I'm gonna buy it. I can listen to those kind of stories.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just about connecting them all and finding the through line and like. What are you trying to say? And I'm I'm not really a writer. Like I've written some things that I'm proud of, but I'm not a writer. Like my brother's a writer who wakes up in the morning at 6 a.m, writes from 6 to 10. Like he's disciplined. I'm like a writer who has these bouts and fits of inspiration that I may pour it out every year or so, but I'm not like an everyday writer.
So I'm originally from Lithuania, right?
Yeah.
So I have written 2 books in Lithuania that became national bestsellers.
That's incredible.
So the first thing that you do is when you doubt whether to write a book or not, you just sit and write.
Yeah.
And think like, maybe I'm going to write it, but I'm not going to publish it.
Yeah.
But you just write.
Yeah.
And it all ends up very good.
That's cool.
So just
do it.
Just do
Nike,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just do it. So the last question on my podcast is always the same. But before that, come on, the 4th mention.
Igal, thank you, Igal, for everything. Seriously.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah, but I will say that you have to invite me to more burger outings, because I don't like that you have such an exclusive, clique with this burger group, and like occasionally, you might think I'm worthy of, sitting with you guys and having a burger, but I feel like, open up that velvet rope, okay? Let us in, okay?
Igal, don't doubt Mr. Evan. No doubts.
Yeah.
So the last question on my podcast is always the same. Let's have 2 assumptions with you, right? Assumption number 1 is the President of the United States of America is the most powerful human being on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Assumption number 2 is you become one. You become the President of the US. Mm-hmm. Once you do so, Secret Service comes to you and says, hello, Mr. President, congratulations. You're the man now. You're the boss. We're Secret Service and we know all the answers in the world.
Yeah.
We know absolutely everything, right?
Yeah.
You ask us, we give you an honest answer to your question. What would be your first question?
Hmm.
You can take your time. I'm going to edit it. No problem.
I mean, it's a tough question because I feel like eventually I'll be able to find out everything. So...
That's the trick. The first one.
The first question. that would open up the floodgates would be what is going on at Area 51.
Oh, really? The aliens?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would want to know. Because I want to know about superior technologies, advanced civilizations, and what we can learn from them. I want to visit DARPA right away.
Pose it to the public as a president of the U.S.
No.
That's why we're where we are.
I believe that there are certain things the general public does not need to know about.
So you can handle the truth.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you gotta protect your citizens. Look, I'm not presidential material. I'm just saying that I do think that there are certain things we don't need to know about. But I do appreciate the Snowdens of the world and like the Julian Assanges as well. I think that's important, especially if it's things that have hurt us as citizens that we should know, and for surveillance, Big Brother stuff. But with regard to aliens and secret technologies, I don't think we need to know about these things.
Would you be disappointed if they would tell you no aliens? Area 51 is just a hoax.
I would be very surprised, disappointed. Yeah, a little, mildly disappointed, because I know how challenging and difficult it would be in this vast universe that we have to find any alien civilizations of any kind, anyone with advanced, intelligent life form. That's a, it's almost improbable.
Are you a big reader? You read books?
I used to read more voraciously, but I read mostly nonfiction these days.
Nonfiction.
Yeah.
But you like the alien topic, all the science fiction?
I like Isaac Asimov. Yeah, sure.
You gotta read the
big Ray Bradbury fan.
Three Body Problem.
Okay.
That's the book.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
You'll be amazed. Right before the show. Don't watch the show.
Okay.
Read the book. So Evan,
yeah,
I had a freaking blast.
Oh, good.
Me
too.
A blast.
Me too. Yeah.
I hope the audience will have a blast as well.
I hope so too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
God bless you. God bless your family.
God bless you
your,
too.
3-year-old
Thank you.
son.
You too.
And I wish everything that you do, you're gonna have success.
Thank you.
Massive success.
Appreciate it. Right back at you.